A clinical group consisting of patients suffering from knee pain were interviewed. 42% were on pain medication, 65% were doing physical therapy, and 35% were doing both. Are the events taking pain medication and doing physical therapy disjoint events? That's the question we answered earlier. And we said, no, they're not disjoint events because the probability of doing both is 35%. So it is possible that a patient is doing both pain medication and physical therapy, because the probability of that happening, or the percentage of patients doing that, is 35%. So there are some people doing both, which means they are not disjoint events. Now, that's the information that we need in order to answer the next question, which is, what is the probability that a patient takes pain medication or does physical therapy? So the word "or" here is important. What that means is they could be taking only pain medication, they could be taking they could be doing only physical therapy, or they could be doing both. That's the interpretation of the word "or." So here what we do is we use the addition rule, because the word "or" is associated with the addition rule. But the addition rule for events that are not disjoint is probability of pain medication or physical therapy is equal to probability of pain medication plus the probability of therapy. Now we would stop here if the two events were disjoint, but since the two events are not disjoint, we subtract the probability of both, which is M and T. So that is the formula that applies in the case of two events that are not disjoint. And this is the addition rule for disjoint events. Now, once we use the rule, there's nothing much to do other than just plug in the values. What is probability of M? It's 0.42. What is the probability of physical therapy, which is T, which is 0.65? What is the probability of M and T, which is undergoing both the treatments, which is given to be 35%, which is 0.35? Now, all we have to do is use the calculator and figure out what this number is, and that gives us the final answer, which is 0.72. So 0.42 plus 0.65 minus 0.35 is 0.72. So here we've just used the probabilities that are given to us, and keeping in mind that the events were not disjoint events, we use the rule, the addition rule, which is meant for two events that are not disjoint, which means there is an overlap. So the reason why we subtract the overlap is because the overlap gets counted as part of M, the overlap gets counted as part of T. So we've counted the overlap twice, so that the addition rule subtracts it off, so that way we haven't counted the overlap twice. Now this same question can be answered using a Venn diagram. So here is a Venn diagram. M and T are overlapping events, so we represent the two events by two overlapping circles. We have a rectangle outside, and this entire Venn diagram has four regions, as we've discussed earlier. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the first region is the blue region, and the region, notice that it excludes the overlap. What that means is this represents the probability of patients taking medication only and not physical therapy. The purple region, which is the region 2, represents the patients that are doing physical therapy and not taking pain medication. Notice that it excludes the overlap. So it's not medication, only physical therapy. The blue region is both medication and physical therapy, which is 35%. So we don't need to subtract anything. Probability of both is 35%. But in the blue region and the purple region, we do need to subtract the overlap because those regions represent only medication or only physical therapy and not including both. The region outside, which is region 4, is the probability that a patient does neither physical therapy nor medication, which means no physical therapy, no medication. So in this case, the probability that a patient takes medication, or remember that or has to include the overlap as well. Now here we are not using the addition rule. The addition rule takes care of the double counting by subtracting the overlap. But here, since we've separated everything out and cleaned up the numbers, we look at the Venn diagram and we add certain numbers. So the first number is 0.07, which is the percent of patients that take only pain medication, plus 0.30, which is the percent of patients that take only physical therapy, that do only physical therapy, plus the percentage of patients that do both the treatments, which is 35%. Notice that when we add these three numbers, we get the same answer as above, which is 0.72. Just reminding you once again, there are two methods. The first method is using the addition rule, and the second method is using the Venn diagram. Use one or the other. When you use the addition rule, there is subtraction involved. When you use the Venn diagram, you're just adding the three non-overlapping regions, but we get the same answer with either one of these methods.